Vladimir Putin's relentless war efforts have shattered Russia's most treasured resource, their own people. Beneath the propaganda of support and glory, a silent storm brews in hospital halls and medical schools. Young doctors, fresh from graduation, are thrown into service in remote villages with no guarantee of shelter or fair pay. They face overwhelming conditions, cold, impoverished, often life-threatening zones, and are told to serve without support. Their voices, filled with despair, echo the harsh truth: they refuse to be pawns in a system that neglects them. One surgical resident from Siberia laments, "I don't want to become an alcoholic at 25. A female student from Irkutsk confesses most of her classmates are considering leaving medicine altogether. This isn't just a brain drain, it's professional destruction. After years of promises, like doubling salaries in 2012, nothing has changed. Now, under threat of punishment, young doctors are forced into hardship, not hope. They see their future slipping away, sacrificed on the altar of a failing regime desperate to hold on to power. Meanwhile, Putin remains seated in his opulent seat, sipping foreign tea, signing decrees, importing labor, but draining the soul of his own workforce. The country's future medical hopes and skilled workers are bleeding out, replaced by cheap labor from abroad. The cracks deepen, the chaos grows. The government refuses incentives, instead punishing those who might challenge its authority. These policies aren't just missteps, they are acts of sabotage on the very fabric of the nation's healthcare system. The crisis isn't just confined to hospitals. Behind the scenes, the national backbone, the railway system, is unraveling. A staggering 700,000 railway workers are preparing to strike over debts nearing 4 trillion rubles. Trains that once delivered troops and supplies now threaten to become ghosts, crippled by neglect. The police, responsible for internal security, face a shortage of 200,000 officers, an erosion of control that could spell chaos. Yet, instead of addressing these vital issues, the regime continues to impose crushing taxes, raising VAT to 22%, dictating that the people pay for a war they didn't choose. The social fabric is tearing. Ordinary citizens, burdened by skyrocketing prices on food, fuel, and essentials, are pushed to the brink. Inflation forces families to sacrifice basics, milk, rice, even pork, up to 10%. The shelves are emptier, the stores quieter. People hear the echoes of a looming breakdown, whispers of lawlessness creeping in, thefts at gas stations, cars stripped of fuel under cover of night. In Crimea, videos leak of gasoline stolen from vehicles as desperation grows, an ominous sign of society sliding into chaos. The regime's answer? An insidious voluntary tax, employees at defense factories told to donate 1 hour's wages each month, roughly 500 rubles, to the war effort. Fears of losing job perks or promotions make refusal unthinkable. It's a covert levy on every household's savings, adding burden after burden on the citizenry already squeezed dry by inflation and shortages. And yet, even the grim facts don't stop there. Stories emerge of families claiming compensation for soldiers lost in battle, fraudulent claims, quick marriages, rushed paperwork, shameless acts in a country desperate for support that's now out of reach. In the shadows, lies hide truths that threaten to ignite a fire of rebellion, a nation awakening from its years of blind loyalty. With death and hardship looming at every corner, the question lingers: how much longer can the regime hold? What happens if the workers, the doctors, the police, those who keep society functioning, turn away in rebellion? The silent uprising is already swelling. The people are awakening, survivors of a brutal storm, ready to challenge a power that has drained their resources and dignity. The true chaos whispers just beyond the horizon, waiting to erupt. Russia's leadership is trapped in a dangerous spiral. Putin's vow to uphold his promises has turned into a nightmare. Instead of providing better lives, he's resorted to heavy-handed repression. This crackdown is stirring a fierce underground rebellion. As bright medical students flee in droves, the entire social fabric begins to unravel. Meanwhile, the backbone of national logistics, Russian railways, is near collapse. Freight traffic, the lifeline of supplies, has plummeted since the conflict escalated. Their debt has soared to an alarming 4 trillion rubles. RZD employs around 700,000 workers, more than any other state enterprise, crucial for moving troops and resources to the front lines. But now, this lifeline is teetering. The threat of layoffs and pay cuts looms large over these vital workers. Finance officials scramble for emergency funds, trying to stem the chaos. Yet, the crisis slips further beyond control. Putin is caught between pouring money into the war machine and ensuring basic living standards for his citizens. The people can see where his priorities lie. Their loyalty is crumbling. Medical graduates abandon their dreams, running from forced placements in remote, impoverished areas. Railway workers are on the verge of rebellion. If steam unleashes on the streets, who will keep order? Nearly 200,000 police officers have already vanished from duty. The shortage has doubled in just 3 years, especially among local law enforcement, spiraling to a 66% deficit. Long hours, meager pay, and social unrest push recruits away. Control is slipping through Putin's fingers. A silent storm is brewing. The cracks in Russia's foundation threaten to erupt at any moment. When the workers and young professionals decide enough is enough, what happens then? Will the regime hold? Or will chaos ignite, leaving the country teetering on the edge of an irreversible collapse? This is more than just an economic downturn, it's a calculated theft by the government against its own citizens. Now, ordinary people face a grim choice: stay silent and starve or speak out. The recent VAT increase has caused prices for essentials like milk, pork, and rice to plunge by up to 10%. Their grocery carts have become emptier, while industries stagger under the weight of stagnation. Steel demand has plummeted sharply. Coal mining has hit its worst stretch in 10 years. Even giant supermarkets report a 20% drop in profits. The economic squeeze is choking the country's future. In some regions, the chaos becomes terrifying. In Crimea, fuel supplies vanish overnight. Videos emerge showing civilians stealing gasoline, turning streets into scenes straight from a lawless zone. It's a sign of the collapse of order. What used to be a steady government now resembles a regional chaos. The state's ability to maintain control is disintegrating beneath the pressure. But the government's assault doesn't stop at taxes. It's pushing new burdens onto those who serve it. Workers in the defense industry are coerced into donating an hour's wages monthly, about 500 rubles, to fund the war effort. They are told it's voluntary, yet the threat of penalties looms if they refuse. This hidden tax creeps into the smallest savings of ordinary workers, eroding their futures little by little. Meanwhile, stories surface of fraudulent claims for soldier death compensations. Some women, who married soldiers just before deployment, have quickly claimed benefits, only for court officials to dismiss their cases as false. The people's patience is fraying. They see their savings drained, their safety unraveling, their homes becoming targets for theft. The government's strategies are failing. They've weaponized fear and hardship to sustain the war machine, transforming society into a powder keg of anger and desperation. The question remains, how long can this quiet explosion be contained before it erupts openly? In the shadows of Russia's ongoing turmoil, a new form of corruption is emerging: fraudulent compensation claims for fallen soldiers. Imagine a woman quickly marrying a soldier, who's dispatched to the front lines almost immediately. Soon after, she claims death benefits, and the court declares her marriage fake. Scandals like these hint at larger, hidden plots. Officially, the government reports that just 200,000 workers are at risk of losing their jobs due to war-related economic strain. Yet, private sources reveal the true figure exceeds 254,000. This discrepancy exposes a web of theft and manipulation, siphoning resources from the civilian sector into the pockets of elites and hidden schemes. Are these numbers just the tip of the iceberg? In many regions, the internet has become a battleground. The Kremlin justifies internet shutdowns with claims of preventing Ukrainian drones, yet bizarrely, restrictions tighten even in eastern areas out of range of such threats. Major cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg see bans on messaging apps, WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal. Meanwhile, government-controlled sites stay open and functioning smoothly. It's clear, censorship is a weapon, used to control narratives rather than protect security. As the war consumes Russia's economy, the true cost is paid not just in rubles, but in the loss of skilled human capital. Education, healthcare, industry, stripped bare by the relentless appetite of the state machinery. Citizens, once hopeful for a better future, now only see emptier stores and deeper poverty, contrasted sharply against a backdrop of propaganda and suppression. The question remains, how long can this fragile facade hold before the entire nation fractures under the weight of deception and greed? The situation inside Russia reveals a brutal truth: the regime's strategy of industrial cannibalism is ripping apart the nation's core. Official unemployment figures hide the real chaos. Initially dismissed as 200,000, they were secretly revised over 250,000 workers in August 2025. This is no coincidence. The skilled engineers, technicians, and medical students believed to be quietly unemployed are actually being drained from the civilian economy to feed the war effort. This internal bleeding shows the crisis spiraling out of control. Even Putin's own officials are contradicting his narratives. But the destruction doesn't stop at internal productivity. External trade routes, once hidden behind layers of parallel imports passing through China, Turkey, and Central Asia, are now closing one by one. Kazakhstan, a crucial conduit for Western technologies, just halted transit, an unexpected betrayal. Officially, it fears secondary sanctions; unofficially, it's a slap in the face to Putin's regime. The consequences are staggering: technological paralysis, severe shortages of vital electronic components and spare parts, and a slowdown in key industries like automobile manufacturing. Car sales have plunged nearly 25% in just 9 months. The civilian economy is trembling on the brink of collapse. Yet, that's just the beginning. As these supply channels tighten, inflation spirals out of control. Prices for imported goods, tech gadgets, machinery, even everyday essentials, skyrocket. With domestic manufacturing crippled, everyday life becomes a gamble. Will you find bread or medicine? Or will you face skyrocketing costs? The wave of inflation is hitting households hard, and every corner of the country feels the tremors. The government struggles to keep pace, but the economic wounds are too deep, and pain is spreading fast. Amidst this chaos, a disturbing question emerges: how much longer can the regime sustain this self-destructive war machine before everything collapses? The evidence is clear: internal resources are being drained, trade routes severed, and the civilian population is paying the price. The question remains: will the people accept further sacrifices, or will the mounting unrest finally explode into open rebellion? The answers linger in the shadows, waiting to be revealed. Vladimir Putin's rule is crumbling from within and without. The illusion of strength is shattered. The very foundation of his power is under siege. The economy, the military, the loyalty of his allies, all are collapsing. This is no ordinary crisis, it is a silent revolution fueled by desperation and pain. A story of betrayal, collapse, and the fight for survival begins now. Russia's industrial engine, including car manufacturing, is grinding to a halt. Raw materials and spare parts are scarce. As a result, vehicle production slows dramatically. Car sales have plummeted by nearly 25% in just 9 months. This decline drags the entire civilian economy closer to collapse. The ripple effect keeps growing, feeding a suffocating inflation wave. Prices for commodities, imported technology, and intermediate goods skyrocket. The cost of everyday life becomes unbearable. People are already cutting their food purchases by 8 to 10%. Now, endless price hikes push them further into poverty. Underneath the surface, the very fabric of daily existence begins to shake. How long can this chaos last before the cracks turn into a catastrophic fall? But economic pain isn't the only sign of Putin's diminishing control. The whispers of discontent echo loudly among Russia's elite. The president's authority appears fragile. Many now see him not as a leader of stability but as a figure entrapped by enemies both abroad and at home. His once sovereign Greater Russia vision has lost its meaning even among regional allies who now turn their backs. Loyalty from the oligarchs, those who fund the regime, is waning. Sanctions crush Putin's biggest financial supporters. Swiss-based trading companies linked to Russian oil, a crucial source of foreign currency, are teetering on the edge of collapse. As billions disappear from the regime's coffers, the loyalty of these wealthy elites weakens. They begin to reconsider whose side they're truly on. Even the highest Kremlin bankers are summoned secretly, forced to explain the unraveling economy behind closed doors. The truth leaks out. resistance simmers quietly beneath the surface. This immense pressure exposes a brutal reality: Putin is powerless. His lies can no longer hide the cracks in his empire. The regime's cracks now threaten to swallow everything: political loyalty, economic stability, order itself. Amidst this chaos, the state enforces forced labor on aspiring doctors. Medical students are being pushed into mandatory service in remote villages, with no guarantees of adequate housing or sustenance. Abroad, allies abandon him just as internal dissent grows. The grand story he spun about Russia's salvation is turning into a nightmare. Behind the gilded curtain, a country fractures, gasping for air as its ruler struggles to hold on to power. The question is, how much longer can this silent rebellion be contained before it erupts into open chaos? Vladimir Putin's years of false promises have crumbled before our eyes. He claimed to shield Russia from Western moral decay, to defend values, and to restore national pride. But today, reality paints a starkly different picture. Daily life is dominated by a relentless system of war taxes, censorship, and industries built on death. The Kremlin demands sacrifices, offering nothing but poverty, suppression, and endless conflict. Now, the people are breaking their silence. The streets echo with questions, shouts that pierce through propaganda. Why are we paying taxes? Why are we expected to fight? Is this life just coffins and bills? The illusion of stability has shattered. All that's left are empty pots and boiling anger. Moscow hopes to hide this with festive lights and holiday cheer. Yet, Christmas decorations cannot conceal the rising fury. As long as stomachs remain empty, unrest will brew beneath the surface. That heat, that simmering rage, signals the start of a revolution just waiting to ignite. What do you believe will happen next? Are the people finally ready to demand change? Share your thoughts below. Stay tuned, because this story is only beginning, and the next chapter could change everything. The growing unrest in Russia reaches beyond the streets, seeping into every corner of everyday life. With police numbers dwindling, nearly two-thirds of officers missing, the grip of control begins to weaken. Hundreds of thousands of police officers, tasked with maintaining order, now face shortages so severe that chaos seems inevitable. The government's strategy? Keep the masses quiet by silencing and marginalizing them. But resistance is brewing, unstoppable and fierce. Meanwhile, the economy is imploding. Instead of fixing the core issues, Putin's regime hikes taxes, raising the value-added tax from 20% to 22%. This isn't just an increase, it's a blow to the very backbone of Russian society. Citizens, already struggling with rising prices, now watch a larger slice of their wages evaporate into government coffers. They're giving up essentials, milk, meat, rice, forced by economic pressure to make sacrifices they cannot afford. In the midst of this turmoil, brave citizens voice their frustration openly. Elena Yun, a woman in a pink hat, stands defiantly in the streets. No government agent, no NATO supporter, just a Russian woman refusing to stay silent. Her words cut through the noise, her banners demand justice. Don't let VAT go over 5%, she pleads. But the stark truth hits harder: 70% of what they earn goes directly to the state. People ask, where does this money go? Not hospitals, not schools, not roads. Instead, it fuels a war machine, piles of metal destined for destruction across enemy lines. Food is becoming a luxury. Prices for vegetables, property, and vehicles have skyrocketed. Ordinary citizens are forced to decide between feeding their families or paying taxes. Elena's words, "They blinded us," symbolize awakening. For years, they believed in a mighty Russia, a land of strength and pride. Now, they see empty refrigerators and a government that steals their livelihood. But the rebellious spirit persists. Crowds gather in Moscow, Petersburg, Vladivostok, and beyond. They risk imprisonment, yet their voices grow louder. The streets echo with anger, hope, and defiance. Their courage threatens to unravel the very fabric of Putin's regime. Because when people refuse to be silenced, even the strongest state cannot hold them back. The question remains, will this silent rebellion ignite a wave of change or be drowned out by the weight of repression? The country is teetering on the brink of a profound crisis. As Putin's regime continues to enforce strict, punitive policies, unrest spreads across Russia's medical and working communities. Let's uncover how this collapsing system is fueling an unprecedented rebellion among those expected to serve and protect the nation. Under new legislation, young medical graduates face a harsh, involuntary duty. After finishing their studies, often in crowded, underfunded universities, they are mandated to serve in remote, resource-starved rural hospitals or occupied territories. These assignments can last up to 3 years, with no promise of proper pay, comfortable housing, or support. It's a forced beginning in bleak, icy landscapes or volatile zones. What future awaits these young professionals? Many see no hope. Their cry from Siberia, "I don't want to become an alcoholic at an early age," echoes through the cold corridors, revealing despair and frustration. The regime tries to mask this violence with empty promises, yet the truth is stark. Most graduates are eyeing escape. They're contemplating abandoning medicine entirely. This isn't a mere brain drain, it's a professional betrayal, a silent suicide of Russia's future healthcare. For over a decade, promises to double doctor salaries have gone unfulfilled, creating a legacy of broken trust. Instead of incentives, the regime relies on brute force, forcing students into undesirable assignments under threat of punishment. This coercive strategy exposes a brutal reality: the state's social promises have failed completely. The regime attempts to cling to power by fear, not support. Every forced deployment pushes these young professionals further from service, fueling rebellion. The message is clear: if promising careers are replaced by coercion, who will stay? Who will serve a system that abandons them? As medical students signal their discontent, the regime's desperation grows. Pushback is inevitable. The regime's failure to motivate or support its future healers is a stark indicator of its crumbling grip. The more it represses, the louder the call for change becomes. And the cost? Russia's healthcare system, already strained by sanctions and shortages, edges closer to collapse. Will the regime's coercion be enough to keep the system afloat? Or will these silent rebels ignite a new wave of resistance, forever altering Russia's trajectory? Unrest is spreading through every corner of Russia. The police force, once a formidable weapon of control, now teeters on the brink of collapse. Nearly 2/3 of officers are missing from duty, an unmistakable sign of weakening authority. What was once a tool to suppress dissent is now a symbol of vulnerability. Why are so many officers leaving? Low pay, exhausting hours, and mounting social chaos have turned duty into despair. The regime's answer? Keep the masses silent, marginalize voices, and hope chaos remains contained. But resistance is rising, fierce and unyielding. Beyond the streets, the economy is in free fall. Instead of addressing core issues, Putin's government hikes taxes, raising the value-added tax from 20 to 22%. This isn't just an increase, it's a direct attack on the average citizen's life. Prices soar for essentials, milk, meat, rice, and everyday families feel their wages slipping away. More of their hard-earned money flows straight into state coffers, fueling the war effort rather than their own needs. The question gnaws at them: where does our money truly go? Not to hospitals, schools, or roads, those are long neglected. Instead, it piles into weapons destined for destruction abroad. Food is slipping beyond reach. The cost of vegetables, property, and even fuel skyrockets. Ordinary families face impossible choices: feed their children or pay their taxes. The air is thick with despair, yet amid this chaos, some refuse to stay silent. Elena Yun, clad in a vibrant pink hat, stands defiantly on the streets. She is no foreign agent. No supporter of outside forces, she is a proud citizen, speaking truth to power. Her voice rings out, banners in hand: don't let VAT go over 5%. But the harsh reality cuts deeper than words: 70% of their earnings vanish into state coffers. Every ruble earned is drained, not for the common good, but to sustain an endless war machine. Russia's heart beats in its people. For decades, they believed in a mighty nation, proud, prosperous, unstoppable. Now, they see empty refrigerators, rising taxes, and a government that robs them of their livelihood. Yet, rebellion sparks like flickering embers. Crowds gather in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Vladivostok, and beyond, risking arrest, yet shouting louder. Their voices echo through the alleys, corridors, and plazas, shaking the very foundations of power. Courageous citizens refuse to be silenced, their resilience threatens to unravel the regime itself. Will this wave of silent defiance grow into a movement capable of toppling roots of oppression? Or will it be drowned beneath the weight of repression? One thing is clear, when people stand united, even the strongest walls can crumble. The future hangs in balance, teetering on the edge of change, an unpredictable turn that could reshape the nation forever. Russia stands on the edge of a catastrophic upheaval. As the regime tightens its grip with brutal policies, unrest quietly bubbles beneath the surface, especially within the healthcare and working classes. But what are the true costs of this repression? How deep does the crack in the facade go? Under new laws, young doctors in training face relentless hardship. They've completed years of grueling study in overcrowded, underfunded institutions. Now, they're forced into remote, impoverished regions, remote villages or territories that could be struck by missile at any moment. These assignments drag on for up to 3 years, with no guarantee of decent wages or simple housing. It's a bleak start in icy landscapes, with danger lurking behind every corner. Imagine the despair of a young doctor in Siberia. Their cry echoes through the silent corridors, "I don't want to become an alcoholic at an early age." Their words reveal the crushing weight of hopelessness. Many of these graduates see no future but resignation or escape. They're considering abandoning medicine altogether. It's not just a brain drain, it's a professional suicide, Russia's future healthcare system bleeding out. For over 10 years, promises to double doctor salaries have remained unfulfilled. The government's broken commitments only deepen disillusionment. Instead of rewarding hard work, the Kremlin relies on threats and coercion, forcing young professionals into undesirable roles as a show of strength. This brutal strategy exposes a harsh truth: the social contract has shattered. Power is built on fear, not support. Every forced deployment fuels further rebellion. These motivated young healers see the cracks in the regime's armor. If careers are bulldozed by repression, who will stay? Who will serve a system that turns its back on its own? As the voices of dissent grow louder, the regime's grip weakens. Meanwhile, Russia's health system teeters on the brink of collapse. Sanctions, shortages, and flights of talent drain its strength. Will the regime's repressive tactics be enough to maintain control? Or will the silent rebellion ignite a new wave of resistance, forever changing the country's course? In the shadows, the silent revolution brews. The foundations are cracking. Russia's future hangs in the balance. And the question remains, how much longer can the regime suppress the rising tide of discontent before everything unravels?